Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Spirit Side. I'm Paul James Caiden, and today we have another interesting topic to discuss on the show. And that topic is imminent alien disclosure. Is it coming? You know, I'm sure most of you are aware of the fact that you can't look anywhere on the internet or the news without seeing headlines about UFOs, people on talk shows, people on the news, the flying Tic Tacs. You know, they're everywhere. Disclosure is coming. Someone is out there. It is literally everywhere right now and has been for a while. And then, it dies down for a little bit, or if people don't respond in a certain way, then we have government or military officials that will come out and say, boy, we better start taking this seriously. I don't think people know, what kind of impact this is going to have when it finally all comes out in the wash. And lately, just in the last week, we have some NASA officials coming forth and saying alien disclosure is only a matter of time, and they don't think we're ready. They think it's going to cause massive upheaval in our world, in our science, in our beliefs, in our religious institutions. They think it's going to cause a real mess when this alien disclosure is finally put out there for people to hear. Now, I did a show with my co-host Stan Wangland on The People Under the Stairs about a week ago, and we were talking a little bit about this. And Stan is a trained psychologist. He was the head of the psychology department for years, in the area where we live. And I was asking him about that. I said, I think, when this happens, because I think it's only a matter of when, there's going to be rioting. There's going to be people committing suicide. There's going to be religious people committing suicide because this undermines their faith. They were wrong. There's nothing to live for. They're afraid. And I asked him if he thought things like this were possible as a psychologist, and he said absolutely. That this could be a major, major blow and a major moment of just fear for a lot of people, and it may drive quite a few folks to do some pretty terrible things. And one of the things we talked about on that show as well, and I covered it last summer when I had the podcast as 1159 for a little while, and that is planet Earth being a zoo, part of a cosmic zoo for higher intelligences. Now, imagine what that would do to people if we had someone, from the scientific community or NASA or wherever coming out and telling us this. They put us here, and this is why we haven't had contact, because they're just observing us. We're like ants in an ant farm to them, and they're just watching to see what we do. Now, I think something like that would really put a lot of people over the edge. We're just ants in an ant farm. How absolutely worthless is this life? I'm out, whatever the case may be. It's really no laughing matter, because these things could do some serious mental, psychological, and spiritual damage to a lot of people out there. And let me tell you something, folks, and I've said it before. with the brand of religion we have in this world today that's very humanistic, very materialistic. They tout the name of God, but everybody's hating and condemning and wanting to fight holy wars and getting all wrapped up in politics. Support this politician, or you're not a real Christian, or you're not a real this. I think the religious institutions and the religion and the spirituality of a lot of people is very, very weak. And if and when something like this comes out, I think the faith of many is going to crumble. I don't think it's going to be strong enough to stand up under that kind of blow. These people would probably be up in arms trying to raid the government, go to war against the military or NASA or whoever, rioting in the streets, offing themselves. I mean, I just don't think it's a foundation that's strong enough to stand up under that kind of news. And I don't think it will. Let alone the numerous amounts of people out there in the world today who are just absolutely alone and depressed. They feel that life isn't worth very much, if anything. What will these people do if they're just told, you know what, we're like ants in an ant farm. They put us here and they're just watching what we do like interesting little insects. That could really push someone's buttons in the wrong way. So it's really no laughing matter. I mean, it's something we have to think about. It's something we have to take seriously, because this is coming. This is absolutely coming. And I know all this sounds kind of dire here in the beginning, but now here is where we take a little bit of a fork in the road and ask ourselves the question, what should we do? How should we react if this happens? Should we lose our minds? Should we hang ourselves from the rafters? Should we take our faith and throw it in the garbage because it was all wrong and, there is no God now, I'm going to go hurt somebody or hurt myself? What should we do? Well, first and foremost, let me ask you this question. Let's start to put things in a little bit of perspective here, if we may. See, first of all, our government, talking about the government here in the United States, they have told us for years there's nothing out there. They had Project Blue Book, Project Grudge, Project this, Project that, and they all said nothing out there. I mean, there's a certain small percentage of lights in the sky that we can't explain, but most all of them are swamp gas, weather phenomenon, weather balloons, bright stars or planets that someone thinks is a UFO and they're chasing around the planet Venus, as they think it's a flying saucer. This is what they told us. Nothing out there. No aliens, no UFOs, never saw one. Nope. Swamp gas, weather phenomenon, etc. We don't have any secret files. There's nothing to disclose. Trust us. Now all of a sudden, especially over the last year or year and a little bit, the same government officials, military officials, and scientific community are coming out and saying they're everywhere. And they've been everywhere for a very long time. The Navy, the Air Force, the Marines, government officials, everybody, flights on passenger jets, pilots of commercial air flights, everybody's been seeing UFOs and these flying Tic Tacs for years. We always know they've been there. They've been there for years. We don't know what they are. So doesn't this raise a little bit of a red flag for you? I know it does me. I mean, which is it? Are they not out there and it's just swamp gas? There's nothing here to see? Or they've been everywhere for a very long time and we've known it. And now all of a sudden, like I said before, they'll make a statement. If people don't make too much hubbub over it, they'll come out, some new official from some, branch of government or military or scientific community will come out. We'd better take this seriously. Everybody seems like it's so humdrum, but we better take this seriously. It's like they want people to be ramped up over this, upset over this somehow, So again, doesn't it raise a little bit of a red flag? And which one is it? They're nowhere, it's swamp gas, or they've been everywhere for years? How do you trust somebody, as they used to say in my neck of the woods, that talks out of both sides of their mouth? That usually shows that there's some deception going on, or somebody has ulterior motives or an agenda. Why say one thing, then all of a sudden change your story? That's never a good sign. So can we trust these people that are telling us this? And as I mentioned in one of my podcasts last week, or it might have been actually one of the ones earlier this week, and it's not a conspiracy theory. I mean, don't take my word for it. Look these things up, see what you can find. But we do have a lot of these government officials who are into this, globalist agenda, the New World Order, as some call it. And they've been thinking for a very long time on how to get, all the nations of the world to peacefully just bow down and go into the system, because many are not. They're going to want to keep their sovereignty. They're going to want to keep their currency, their banking system, their government the way it is. And one of the ways they have on the table, and do the research, please, don't just take my word for it. And I'm not blowing smoke at the audience here. It's really out there that they've mentioned a staged extraterrestrial invasion that would scare us all so much that, yes, we're gonna heed that advice. We all have to come together now for our own good, our own protection. We all must unite. Remember Ronald Reagan in the 1980s? It was his little speech that they show all over the place now. When he was talking about, if we found out that there was a threat out there, some unknown threat that was a danger to us all, wouldn't we all put aside our differences? Was that maybe a little nudge in this direction? I mean, this podcast isn't to get into all that kind of thing, right now. But, we have to think about it. If these people are lying to us, and they did, one or the other is a lie. There's nothing out there, or they've been everywhere. Could this be, as I said, ulterior motive or an agenda? It's something to think about, and we have to think about, again, the source that's telling us all this. They've never been They've never been our pal. They've never been really, upfront and honest with the people. So why would they be now? There are some people who hypothesize and, have hypothesized for a while that, our government, our military, has been in contact with someone or something for a very long time now. And, whatever deal they got going on between, them and the aliens or whatever they are, maybe this is, we've known it all along. Here's my buddy Chris from Pluto. I mean, who knows what they will come out with. And we can't let it upset us. We can't let it crumble us, whether they're nowhere and this is all a hoax, or whether they're everywhere and this is not a hoax. We have to be ready. We have to be prepared mentally and spiritually. Because let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. If they come out with this cosmic zoo theory, yep, we knew it all along. We're an ant farm to the aliens. We can't let that kind of thing get us down, make us afraid, make us feel like we have no God, we have no faith, we have no hope. Because that's a lot of bunk. Don't let anything like that, and I'm here telling you right now, don't let anything like that, if they come out with it, diminish who you are. Because let me tell you something. I don't care if aliens did put us here and they're watching us like an ant farm, and that could be proven 16 different ways. It doesn't matter. Because you're talking to a guy right now who's done enough research, particularly when it comes to the near-death experience, quantum mechanics, survival of consciousness after death, people that have had experiences during, flatlining, being dead, seeing the light, seeing something beyond this world. We are more than this flesh and blood body. We are more than this material world tells us we are. So I don't give a damn if E.T. lands in my backyard tomorrow and says, guess what, Jack? We put you here and you're just our pet tadpoles. It doesn't change a thing. Because Mr. E.T. may think he controls me or you or the world, but it doesn't. Because there's more to us than these things. And I'll also add this, just in case you're wondering. I would be fairly sure that if that came out, E.T. put us here and we're his ant farm, I would be fairly sure that was a lie. Either from the same government and institutions that lied to us about the aliens being there in the first place, or a lie from the aliens themselves. I don't think that would be true. Because then we get down to the bigger questions. Well, then who made you? And who made the one who made you? And who was the one who made you? Who made the entire universe? Who made consciousness? What is consciousness? You can't own consciousness. So don't let anything like that scare you or diminish who you are. And you know what? Don't let it shake your faith either. We have to be strong enough and smart enough to say maybe all of our religions don't have it figured out. Maybe there's a lot of things they have right, and maybe there's a lot of things they have wrong. And we can't let ourselves go out there and start hurting other people or hurting ourselves if something threatens those religious ideas. Because in ultimate reality, just taking a step back, as I said, there's more to you than this physical body. There's more to you than this material world tells you that you are. And any way you slice it, whether anyone likes it or not, the government, ET, or whomever, there is a higher force out there. There is a higher intelligence. There is what we call God and the angels and these beings that interact with us and help us in times of need. People have always seen them. Radiant beings appearing beside the crib of a sick baby or the bedside of a relative who's terminally ill. And then suddenly that baby, that relative, that person is healed. There's higher things out there that are for us, that love us, that take care of us and watch over us. And maybe we don't have it all figured out. Maybe we don't have the right name for it. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist, that it's not out there, that there's life beyond this life. And the governments and NASA and the military, and if there are beings out there flying around in their giant Tic Tacs, they're not God. They don't control it all. And see, that's when you think that way, that's where your courage comes from. That's where your freedom comes from, because you're free from this matrix, as some call it. You know, all this is, it's not permanent. It's an illusion, as some people would say. Nobody can keep us here. Nobody can define us as ants in an ant farm or whatever it is they want to do. New world orders can't, or, they can't diminish who you are. They can't take away your individuality and your spiritual freedom. See, folks, we have to rise above these things. And then we can ask that question, where is thy sting, O death? Because no matter what threatens us, we know where we stand. We're not at the whims of what the government says, or what the church says, or what this denomination says, or what this, jackass on TV says, or, what ET says in his flying Tic Tac or whatever he's driving around. We're not at the whims of all of that. We know who we are. We know where we're going. We know what our destiny is. And whatever all the little window decorations around this thing called life on earth may be, good, bad, indifferent, it's not going to move us. So don't let these things throw you for a loop. Because I would suspect that, sometime down the road, just a little bit, they're going to come out with something that's going to be the big loop thrower. The big, oh my God, hand over the mouth, oh gasp moment. But don't let it be that for you. Because A, is it the truth? And B, even if it is, what does it matter in the big scheme of infinity, eternity? What is beyond this physical universe of matter? And see, that's the thing, folks. That's the only thing they can control. Or at least they think. And maybe they can for just a little while. All these people and their agendas, all these governments, all these greedy politicians, whoever they may be, even E.T., if he comes down in his little breath mint spaceship, and tries to, take over the earth. The only thing they can control is in the confines of this material universe of matter. Beyond that, they have no power. And beyond that is our destiny. So don't be afraid of these things. Don't let it make you angry. Don't let it make you sad. Don't let it make you think of going out there and doing something stupid. Hold your ground. Because we got right alongside of ET, everything they're talking about. And, it seems like every week there's a new batch of killer asteroids that just missed us. And, there was a couple this over the past week as well. I think one newspaper article said that NASA detected 16 or something like that that just went by, along with a city killer. So they're looking for UFOs. They're looking for, the deep impact of, an asteroid. These things may happen. But again, they can only happen in the confines of this material universe. And there is a book that tells us that this material universe is not going to last forever. And things very well may happen on the earth that could be kind of scary. Men's hearts failing them for fear of what is coming upon the earth. Well, who are going to be those people whose hearts fail them? Probably the politicians, probably the guys at NASA, probably a lot of the people in the military and the banking system, probably the people that have this very pseudo-political, judgmental, hate-filled, pseudo-religion that they have these days. No love in their hearts, no kindness. It's all, politics and judging others. Yeah, they probably wouldn't, fare so well. But see, we got to make sure that we're not these kind of people. Not that we're judging them, because we should try to help those kind of people if we can. But stuff like this might happen. There's a lot of prophecies that says, that say that it will. And so we have to be ready. We have to be on that solid ground. We can't be thrown to and fro with all this, fear. Here come the aliens. Oh, here comes, the asteroids. Oh, here comes global warming. Oh, here comes, something else. Because again, with some of it, we have to ask, are these people telling us the truth? Do we not remember that our government told us with the UFOs? Nope, nothing out there. I think all these people getting out there, well, you better take it seriously. I think the response should be like, well, are you telling us the truth? Just a handful of years ago, there was nothing out there. Now they're everywhere. Which one is it, pal? Maybe we don't believe you. you know. But either way, like I said, don't let these things alarm you. Don't let them diminish who you are. Because you're more than all this. You're more than what the government says you are. You're more than these institutions tell you you are. You're more than what E.T. would probably tell you you are if he should land. Because isn't that interesting? In closing, just that thought, isn't it interesting that spirituality and religion, no matter how flawed, and we don't have it all figured out, but at the very least, they've all told us you're from the heavens. You're sons and daughters of God. You have a great destiny. But then there's always been these people who said, you're nothing. You're poor. You just came out of the dirt by accident. Nobody made you. Nobody put you here. Nobody's got your back. You're on your own. We're on our own. And now E.T. could come down and say, guess what? You're just our ants in the ant farm. You're nothing. Basically, you're insects. Isn't it interesting how many people have said that to other people, and now there's, at least the possibility that there could be something or someone out there that's supposed to be so much more smarter than we are, and they may come here and tell us the same thing. Makes a body wonder. But see, that's just it. You're not a nobody. And you do have a great destiny. And you are here for a purpose. And there is more beyond this material universe. And it doesn't matter what anybody says. It doesn't matter what anybody does. It doesn't matter what country or government or planet or dimension someone comes from. They can't change that. They may want to tell you and convince you that they can, but they can't. And let me also end on this note. Beware of any person or being. I don't care where they come from in the cosmos, where they come from in some alternate reality or dimension. Be very wary of any person or being that steps up on their soapbox and says, guess what? You're nothing. But I and my kind, we are greater than you. In fact, we made you. You are our pets, our experiment. See, you're nothing. And you're feeble in your thinking, and you're feeble in your reasoning. You're just an experiment. You're just a slave. You're nothing. But me, on the other hand, I am something so much greater than you are, or that you could possibly imagine. Beware of anything or anybody that tells you that. You want to talk about wolves in sheep's clothing? You want to talk about deceivers? That is generally the line of anything or anybody that has an agenda, wants to keep you down, wants to hurt you, wants to control you, wants to rob you of hope, wants to rob you of faith, It is a diabolical thing to say, a diabolical attitude, and some may even say demonic. So be very much aware of anything or anybody, I don't care where they're from, that tries to tell you that. Let those words be a big tip-off if anybody ever utters them from the world stage or from the stars or wherever they claim to be from. That's a major tip-off. Something is wrong. So listen, folks, I hope this podcast was a blessing to you today. I hope you got something out of it. And I hope you will share it with family and friends if you know anyone who is, shaken up with all this alien and asteroids and everything that's going on in the world. Because I think this is an important message. I think these are things we all need to hear. Because we need to be strong. We need to be empowered. We need to be ready. We need to be educated. We need to think this thing through so we're not fooled or we don't react in a bad way when whatever is going to happen happens. But listen, I appreciate each and every one of you for listening. I'm Paul James Caiden. I'll see you next time here on the Spirit Side. Until then, stay safe out there, everybody, and remember, don't let anyone diminish who you are. You are more than your physical body, and you are more than this world that we live in. Always remember that. Peace.